evening, everyone. This light is really bright, so I don't see faces very well. But good evening. Welcome to Poetry at the Point. My name is Erin Quick. I want to thank you all for being here tonight as we kick off our 2025-26 season with Jet McDonald and Apollo Chastain. Again, thank you for coming out. Tonight is a special one. We're here to celebrate poetry and hear these two wonderful poets, of course. But also we're here to honor our longtime curator, Kenneth Pruitt, as he hosts this series for the final time. Kenneth has led this series for 3.5 years now. I thought it was 4.5, but it's 3.5 years now. He joined us right at the height of the pandemic, when virtual readings were brand new to us. He not only kept them lively and engaging, but he also kept our spirits up. Like, I remember the time when you showed up in full alligator Loki for Halloween. I don't know if you remember that in 2021. Loki was a thing at that year. He always made sure we knew he was with us, even when new episodes of The Mandalorian or Andor were dropping. He was here. He came. He was here. He showed up and was with us every time. Month after month, he invited us to gather paradise together, a practice that feels even more essential in today's world. And it is a world where arts are under real threat. With the recent turmoil at the Smithsonian and funding cuts at the NEA, which just happened for Grants for Writers just last Friday, we are watching institutions and opportunities that so many of us hold dear come into harm. These challenges ripple through our creative community, making spaces like this one, where we come together to share and celebrate poetry, all the more vital. Kenneth, I can't see you very well because of the light, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your heart, for your vision for this series. It's been game-changing. You've really remade it into this beautiful thing, and your generosity for all of these years. You carried this series through some of its most challenging years, when gathering together felt nearly impossible. You made it joyful, you made it communal, and your steady presence has shown us how essential it is to keep gathering paradise together. So tonight we celebrate all that you brought to Poetry at the Point, and we're delighted to welcome our new curators, McCallum Lay and Andy Chen, who are both here tonight. So if you want to say hi to them afterwards. And I know that it's big shoes to fill, but they will carry this series forward with heart and with vision, just like you did. Thank you for everything. We're going to miss you on the stage.
All right. Hey, y'all.
One more time.
One more time. My name is Kenneth. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm the curator and host of this here reading series for one last time. Those lights are really, really bright, brighter than normal, so I'll just pretend that there's still human beings out here. So happy Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift Engagement Day to all those who celebrate. Holy shit, it's about time. Good for them. I'm going to make a couple of quick announcements and then we'll get on to everything. Shout outs as always to members of the St. Louis Poetry Center. I'm one. You can set it up in PayPal or whatever platform is hopping these days and set it and forget it. You can become a member in the back. So, oh yes, thank you for that. Whoever did that, appreciate that. As always, thanks to the Missouri Arts Council and the Regional Arts Commission for funding our work. It is, as Erin said, incredibly important in these times when the arts are under attack in very real ways. This community space is incredibly important. Thanks to the Focal Point for always leaving the lights on for us and having a fantastic space for us to create this community together. I wanted to draw your attention to some events coming up. This is there's a flyer in the back, so please grab one on your way out. Of the events for the fall season, and I have to say it is a just banger after banger. The couple of events that I wanted to draw your attention to in particular are September 21st, the Sunday workshop. This is Allison Cundiff, a fantastic writer who just published a new novel that you can pre-order online, the title of which is escaping me right now, but ask me later. And then the very next day, on the 22nd at Observable, is going to be Mary Jo Bang and Eileen Giselle, both regulars in our spheres, and we're happy to have them as well. So please check those out. Housekeeping, for those of you here in person, bathrooms are out this door. Make a left and then a right. There are gender inclusive and gender particular restrooms that you can use. I think you can buy drinks next door. We don't do that all that often, but there is a restaurant next door. It'd be cool if they succeeded where others have not. So please buy things from them and then return your glassware after you're done. If you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, hello to you. We're glad you're here, even if it's after August 26th. That's the date, right?
Yep.
I lose things sometimes. So yeah, earlier this year, I started having a lot more going on in my personal life than I was able to juggle with this responsibility. So I wanted to hand it over to folks who had the time and the space to make it continue to be fantastic. I'm really glad for Andy and McCallan taking on that challenge, and I'm really, really, truly excited to see what it continues to become in their incredibly capable hands. It has been my tradition over the last year or so to kick us off with a poem, and I have been revisiting Spencer Reese's Road to Emmaus recently. If you haven't checked out, I think that's his next to most recent book. Obviously a lot of religious themes there, and this particular poem really stood out to me. It's shorter than a lot in there. He has some very long kind of cycles in there, but this one is entitled At Thomas Merton's Grave. It's a lot about loss in just some really specific and simple and gorgeous ways, so I won't tee it up too much. At Thomas Merton's grave, we can never be with loss too long. Behind the warped door that sticks, the wood thrush calls to the monks, pausing upon the stone crucifix, singing, I am marvelous alone. Thrash, thrash goes the hayfield, rows of marrow and bone undone, the horizons flashing fastens tight, sealing the blue hills with vermilion. Moss dyes a squirrel's skull green. The cemetery expands its borders. Little milky crosses grow like teeth. How kind time is, altering space so nothing stays wrong. And light, more new light, always arrives. So, Jet and Apollo literally did paper, rock, scissors to decide who goes first. And Apollo is going first. Apollo Chastain. Is he here and he, him pronouns is either crying in the club or crying in the archive. We'll get to that later. The recipient of an Academy of American Poets College Prize and nominee for a Pushcart Prize, Apollo's creative and academic work has been supported by Tin House and the Smithsonian Institution and appears or is forthcoming in journals including Poets.org, Meridian, the Michigan Quarterly Review, Ninth Letter, and Rhino, among others. Z is an MFA candidate in poetry at the WarSU. You can visit here at apollopoet.wordpress.com or on Instagram at apollo.chastain. Please take it away.
Thank you so much to everyone here for having me. Thank you so much, Kenneth and McCallan. Andy, I haven't met you, but thank you so much for taking over now. So excited to be with you, Jen. All right. Okay, I inputted. Let me see if I could do this. Like, prey pills down from the sky, like teeth from gums. Like teeth, expensive for how small they are, make rattles pale, poor, and slow. Like teeth, unlike bullets. Bullets come fast, pills come like teeth too slowly. Must take 72 hours after exposure, pills most effective, below 24 to reduce likelihood of HIV infection. Call every hotline. Holiday weekend. No answer. On top of urgent care costs, it's like $4,000 for pills without external support. Friend in healthcare tries shipping them overnight. From New York, Missouri legislature refuses letting treatment cross state lines. Pray pills down like fruit shaken from boughs, rain shaken from sky. Nurses blew makeup like buntings wing, frostbitten limb, flax which pollen flecks like tiny pills. What isn't right, she says. Do you want to report this to police? What's not right? Right? Plague. You can spend your life begging God for power and still be on the phone, teeth from gums, pills from sky, nurse on phone calling every contact to get 2 days of 30 free, 2 bottles, 4 pills, and 56 more. Rip the casing off the pills with teeth as soon as possible. Start now, hope for rest in time, no scissors. Need some scissors, something sharp, top casing, 4 layers, plastic, foil, cardboard too, every minute matters. Throw bottle against gray flake water fountain. Teeth again, weight pills actually are like bullets. This pill, like a bullet, can destroy a liver. And all you can do is wait. The nurse again. Long pills like skateboards, guys kick flick with and parking lot by urgent care. Prayers like fluid. Rain as angels, wringing rags, sopping with prayer to nourish seeds, oblong like pills. Sobbing, tears wrapped salty pills. What's something like in its absence? When you need a thing, all the world looks like what you do not have. Mute swan. I tested many possible doors to other worlds as a girl. The brambles by the elementary school wall, a line of cygnets trailing near the algae, parentheses. Then I discovered sex. I made a potion supposed to let me cross into the body of a swan. The doctor said, don't worry, kids play all the time after she pumped my stomach. This world is pressed against all the others like hot sweat caught in wiry stomach hair. Doors nested tongues inside bright beaks. In the stories, the boy becomes a swan. This was supposed to be a punishment. I ignored that part. I dreamed of molten glossy feathers. I believed if I changed my body, I could gain passage to a better world. The doors were fine, the sex was fine. The thing about transfiguration is that it requires both faith and will. To cross over, one must first touch the knob and find it gives below fingers, soft and heaving like a tongue. The operation's fantasy allows on a body, the world of no lactation, the world of orange bill. The world of first fall dusk gray, mostly white plumage by November. Princess 12. This one's for Nathan. I know they're watching right now on the live stream, so this one's for you folks. We cover our breasts with eggshells in the gas station bathroom. We live in a nest of pink tulle and yolk. My sister throws a lacquered box up in the air and shoots the hinges. Bang, bang. Ballet flats whisk out as if the box is bleeding satin. Gold Coast mint soap, conch shells in the kitchen. Some girls are so full of place I cannot bear it. The fuck am I supposed to talk about with 4 walls? Dancing is heard in motion. Speed on asphalt hits hot rain. The oaks grow pastel eggs for when we're hungry. Platforms for when our souls thin. My family is anyone who can run as fast as me. I paint her face with white acrylic left over from the boiled shells at Easter. We shimmy dawn down like removing a curtain from its rod, poke holes in the pink. I wash dishes when I wake up first. I try to abstain from envy. I want to tell girls who bitch about their mothers at Thanksgiving, your home is just something we trip over on the way out. We walk to 7-Eleven, flirt with the cashier. Our hair gleams like needles. They get ready again, splash water on each other's noses. Apollo and Marsyas. I skin his name. I take. A man wears a red suit when his skin is gone. I want to be with him forever, stitched in the same hairy sack of skin. Poorly named the first time around, I chose my own. Not long, flush with vowels, found in a book. I stamped letters on the thin, gray lips of county forms. I skin his name. I follow his suit. The flayed man flinches, nipples hard in the cold air. Before him a knife, my face soft like a bowl of milk. Signs. I point 2 fingers to my head and pull my thumb to go where the angels slot songs into the slender mouths of their Uzis and let rip with trigger fingers, so all afterlife ricochets with exultation. I'm a child, and I trace over the pastel faces of gods and kings with my pointer and middle finger in a book of myths. I dream the powerful will come to kill my parents and make me safe. Point 2 fingers up so sky descends like a white stole fashioned from the fur of a blind mink. I raise 2 fingers to my temple in the act of thought and dream I live a life where I no longer dream to live how I desire. I point up with 2 fingers and I'm a deer lapping small water from a lake at the side of a major freeway. I wake with my first 2 fingers dripping in honey and raise them to the 2 small light bulbs on my ceiling. I gesture, come at me, with 2 fingers like the guy in the Matrix, and the blue deathwing groans. And everyone who's ever left rises to me, wiping the blood from their eyes. Pastoral. This one's for Brendan Tina. A young man dies in pasture land. A store, a few houses, a town with a church sticking up from the field like a singed knucklebone. And the first thing asked by a queer city rag is why a transsexual would be so far out from downtown. Why, I wonder, would a young man love the fields and long stretches of silence that gather like good, fresh blood at the threshold of an open wood? The Colonel. In my little white house, even God washes his face 2 or 3 times a day if he's visiting. The best way to avoid shame is being clean. I went to war, returned from war. I paid boys to beat me, though I never allowed myself to come. I hid from history in a white house with a wash basin. I hired boys to beat me until my back wept blood. I went to war in such a way I will be remembered. Once I saw a man get shot and my dick got hard. History is a beautiful boy with golden teeth who plays the lyre, who would suck my dick after he whipped my back into a bloody slurry. I wonder how I will be written. I rise, I wash my face. These are the 2 sonnets I was telling you about, Kenna. Yes. Bird in space, bird in space, bird in space. Constantine Brancusi, 7 marble figures and 9 bronze casts, 1923 to 1940. I can't reach my life. I hide in the starlings that swarm my fields, then coax dirt by bronze hoe. From blister bursts, I bury seed and chuck a rock of feathers. Come spring, it will be different. I sow, I shoot, I wait. God can't touch us, so he sends birds to eat our grain. I hide my want inside the starlings. They descend in bronze clusters, spots of mold on the grain stores. I bake a round, brown loaf, sweet weight for my stomach. First, press flour in a bowl, rest dough, my want below each step. Like foil in the oven, I tuck my soul into the birds. A flock descends clumsily like shit-faced farmers whose noses are blown off by burst vessels. Specks of brown skin in the air. Pop art. I'm dusting between the glass and the frame in the museum. The man goes, awooga. I have a friend who texts in all caps when they have something they need to get through my head. I go bang, bang, bang with my body like Nancy Sinatra. I am daubed in gold on leather. I'm tattooed on the living cow. I fall asleep on FaceTime calls. I buy a ticket to a clean exhibition room and screens that flash things like, "This is living." I text my friends back home a lot. I hit buttons, pow, pow. I take long walks at night. But Zoin, I'm feeling flat like a Frisian scroll or pixelated torso on Grindr. I say that I'm writing a lot about sex and death, and the man goes awooga too. "I'm going insane out here," I text back home. "No one thinks I can drive. Everyone thinks I do meth." I doze in the frame. I can be seen 30 freeways to the east. Wowza, tech these days. I have never been a real person about to have real sex. In the museum, I take off my clothes. I always feel a shitty sense of urgency walking through exhibits. I need to take it all in, or you have people who love you, who do not want to fuck you. The end is a shooting range where the sheep graze and the soldiers aren't practicing. All right, 2 more. I think I timed this out. I think I should have done. Public. For Thibault, Brussels to St. Louis. 1. Church on his shoulder, black ink. Church on his shoulder, black ink. 2. The land I come from is wide, flat, and covered with food, like the plate in the microwave. If I run in winter, you can still see me a mile away. In summer, too, if the crops are short. Barley, sorghum. He says, if you stand at the Eastern Church, you can hear the bells from the church on the west. They're so close. 3. The black fields wet with snowmelt. When my feet touch earth, they sob like bells. My country isn't empty in the middle. The dead are just so big, it's hard to understand you're seeing them. In his bed, I pretend I am small enough to contain only the memory of good things. 4. Petals of ink bloom below his dark hair. He remembers a lot about where he comes from. I have a crush on the sky. The farther you can see, the harder it is to run. I plant myself in Flanders where the churches are. Don't make me go back out there. Turbines stalk the fields, pawing air. Shulgin. You can win a pistol. I remove the white chiclet gum which I have been chewing so long it's lost flavor from under my tongue. I hand it to the woman in the striped uniform. It calls to play. The woman smiles. Thanks, ma'am. She puts the gum under one of 3 beautiful shells before her. These are the rules. It is fun. Each shell is ivory tinted with curls of blush. I must choose which one looks most like me. The one on the left, I point. She smiles and pulls back the shell. Underneath is not my soul. Underneath is a gun, shimmering blue-gray like cloud banks. Sorry, sir, you lost. You can still get a prize if you want. I palm the gun and slip it into my waistband. Not a wicked weapon. My mother told me I did not have a soul when I was younger. She tried to beat the evil from me. She would not have done this if I had had a gun, I think. Many people assume you have neither a soul nor a gun. They act accordingly. You should probably have at least one.
Thank you, Apollo. God can't touch us, so he sends birds to eat our grain. It's going to sit with me for quite a long time. Thank you for that. Our second reader this evening, I need to pause to say there are several people in this room who have just shown up for me in ways that community is supposed to when you need it, when you're ready to just climb into a deep, dark hole. And Jet is one of those people, so I get to say that on the microphone. So thank you. Jet McDonald, they, he pronouns, is a writer, dancer, and aspiring mime. By day, they work as a communications professional based here in St. Louis. Their work has appeared in places like the RFT, Rest in Peace, and Type House Literary Magazine, which nominated one of their poems for a Pushcart Prize. They hold an MFA in creative writing from UMSL and served as UMSL's 6th Poet Laureate. Lately, Jet is most interested in cross-genre work. They are lucky to have a community of loved ones who embody how great the world could really be. Back at Jet. Jet, please.
How's that? Volume? Good? Cool. Thank you so much for having me. Apollo, that was amazing. That's gonna stick with me. That was fantastic. I write about clowns a lot. Yeah, thank you for the woo. Are you a clown? Okay. Just like a honk from the back. So yeah, for a while now, if you've ever seen me read in the last couple of years, I've just been thinking a lot about mime and movement and dance and the theater of everything and how that ties into everything else. So yeah, I'm gonna read kind of a long chunk of one section of the project I've been working on that has some smaller sections in it, and then I'm gonna switch to a different section that sort of ties in, I think, to the first part. So anyway, it doesn't matter, but you'll see when we get there. I'm going to start with a quote from Tony Montanaro, who wrote a book called Mime Spoken Here, The Performer's Portable Workshop. Highly recommend, great stuff. If you've ever thought about what it means to be a person or a body or an entity of any kind, there's something in there for you. And the quote is, "The correct use of the imagination warrants vulnerability, attentiveness, and courage. In many ways, it is a confrontation with reality rather than an escape from it." So, section 1 is a mime exercise. When your partner wakes you up saying, "Hurry, a dog was hit by a car on our street, and people aren't sure what to do, and it's still lying in the street, and maybe we can do something," move your body fast. Grab a blanket and a bottle of water, even if you don't know why. Drive to the catastrophe and kneel. A neighbor will drag over a potted rose bush and plant a shade umbrella in its soil. The dog will be awake and silent. The shade will be awake and silent. Another neighbor will have a damp towel and a bowl for the water. The dog will lower its snout, and rose-red blood will pedal into the clear. Blood will already be baked into the hot asphalt around him. There will be many hands moving and inconclusive phone calls that may as well have been wordless. The owner will arrive, and everyone will be making shapes with their bodies that say, "Anything we can do, please. We're sorry this happened. This is so heavy. Let us pick him up." The owner won't say much, but everyone will agree that it would be best to carry the dog to her car on something sturdy in case he has broken bones. So start looking for planks, for cardboard, anything. Turn your head, meet your neighbor's eyes, wring your hands, dart around a little. Finally, remember that you have an absurd clown prop in your car, a giant cardboard envelope meant for silent, silly messages on stage, made firm by many layers of duct tape. Bring it back to the group, hold it up, let them decide that it will work. Hold it steady, help situate the dog on top. He will be panting, wild-eyed, but alive. He will make it. Help carry the dog on top of this clown prop to the owner's car. Give her your number. Look at him in the back seat, ready to go. Step back into the grass and think, damn, it really is possible to be carried to safety by a joke. and may we all be so lucky. A list of premises about loving each other. In mime, a premise is an idea or force acting on the body, a situation the body is reacting to. For example, this invisible suitcase is so much heavier than a normal suitcase. The invisible room has invisible walls with no doors, visible or otherwise. I inflated this invisible balloon with air from my own lungs, and yet it's carrying me away. I've started thinking about the premises my body is working from more often. Like today's premise is not enough sleep, or too much dysphoria, or an overwhelming amount of affection. The ones I carry go like, 1, my mime teacher says your hands become whatever they touch. 2, when I don't know how to dress my trans body in a way that feels right, I sometimes think about the time my cousin was carjacked while driving an electric car. The man held out his gun, my cousin got out of the car. The man got in and said, "How do you start it?" My cousin said, "It's already running." The man said he couldn't hear it, and my cousin said, "It's running, just quiet. It's electric, you can move forward. Just start driving, and it'll go." Something is running in the background for me too. Some mysterious manness with room in it, even for me. With an engine no one needs to hear to believe, as long as it moves. 3, according to a poster at the bed, my dog's body language, sitting back on his hind legs, resting his front paws on us, looking up, means, "Hello, I love you." And on an anxious day, he keeps resetting himself like that, keeps restarting at that most fundamental of premises. "Hello, I love you. Hello, I love you." 4, once when I worked at an art museum, we had this special exhibit by a textile artist named Roland Ricketts, where the floor of a large room was covered in dried indigo plants. The idea was that as guests would walk over the indigo looking at art, they'd also be grinding up the plant matter under their shoes and releasing the scent of it into the air, more and more over time, constantly changing the space for each other, giving each other's lungs context, silently sharing something, changing something together just by moving. I went every day, watched the plants turn into powder, and the air turn thick with arrivals and departures. 5, my cousin once described being a mother as being a lantern. 6, the friend who loves music the most used to rest her hands on the giant speakers at concerts and close her eyes. When I lived with her, she'd sing opera in the shower, and I'd be laying on the couch listening. She'd ask if it sounded okay, and I'd say, "Hello, I love you. Hello, I love you." 7, I met a clown who kept 2 squeakers in her bra, one on either side. I asked about it because I kept hearing this faint honking sound in the room when she moved. She told me it's like another antidepressant and made an extra loud honk so that I would smile. 8, if you live somewhere for at least a year, you see your community across seasons. You know what color winter coat your neighbor wears, know what pair of sandals is likely to appear in June. The neighbor who repaired my unicycle said they just want to help people with bikes around here feel the subtle, silly joy of wind in their hair on a downhill ride. 9, once I dated a horticulturalist who would text me pictures of whatever was blooming that day. "Hello, I love you." 10, at a direct action training, I kept facing the wrong direction when we practiced what it might look like to coordinate our movements at a protest. And later I was smiling about it and telling my friend, and he said, "Well, this is why we rehearse the revolution." That weekend in someone's basement there was a concert, and the artist with their guitar was singing about labor unions, as one does, chanting "strike, strike, strike," and soon we were all chanting it, and people started dancing harder, dancing to an idea, and it was the rehearsal and also already the revolution. I think about the direct action trainer who said, "We live in violence," and we do, but together. 11. There was this week when there was violence on my block, and my friend and I were saying how we didn't want to feel just a little more afraid of walking around, of existing at night, of hearing unexpected noises, but in the moment we did. Soon our neighbors got together and read poetry and shared liturgy and made plans and pooled resources and took each other's plant cuttings. And later that same night, my friend and I passed each other on the street, each of us on our own walks, and we waved to one another from one streetlight beam over. "Hello, I love you." 12. Next to a fire in my friend's backyard, we realized that after all these years, we've officially known each other longer than we haven't. He loved that phrasing, so we said it back and forth to each other like we were singing in the round. 13. A friend of a friend train hopped in Tacoma on a whim. To her surprise, the train went all the way to San Francisco without slowing down once. She had a broken thumb but hung on, hour after hour. Her dad picked her up and drove her back to Washington. And isn't that it? Me and everyone I cherish shaping our bodies to cling to this vast metal entity we can't even see the whole of, speeding down the coast, with an oceanic drop-off on one side and desert on the other. And if we're lucky, our dads are waiting for us as we stand clutching chestfuls of limitless still air in a parking lot, thinking, "Hello, I love you. Hello, I love you." A mime exercise. Go to the gas station down the street and meet John, who's selling earmuffs and asking for money for a hotel because it's cold as fuck outside. While you get the ATM to work, he'll say, "If I could do this for someone else, I would." And when you walk out together, you'll trade names. He won't be able to hear you over the wind, so if your name is Jet, like me, you'll make airplane arms to mime Jet, and then you'll both be doing airplane arms just because it's ridiculous. And if you lift your arms like that again later, you can still picture the icy gusts moving the trash and the darkness and the gas station in 4 soaring arms. When Elizabeth Bishop saw an unaccountable vase of fake flowers arranged in a gas station window once, she wrote, "Someone loves us all. Lift your arms again and again. Picture that John is okay. Picture that someone really does." All right, I'm going to read that other section, if that's cool. Am I good on time? Cool. All righty. If you heard me read it Reborn, you would have heard this first section about a circus I saw a couple years ago. So yeah, here we go. The last week of summer, I see a circus called Flotsam that travels by river on a homemade boat. The subtext of their show, I think, is apocalypse. Collapse, garbage, tenuous rebuilding at best. The literal precarity of a trapeze hung from a crow's nest on a boat made of old wood and trash on the Mississippi. And the abstract precarity of whoever remains here staying ridiculous and connected, while our fish-like bodies mutate into the future. My favorite character, of course, is the mime, Pokey, who paces the deck in a yellow raincoat and folded newspaper captain's hat. They make the audience believe that their suitcase is very, very heavy. They climb a ladder with great difficulty during an invisible storm. They receive prophecy from a doom-saying puppeteer, but nevertheless make time for invisible wine and feasting with their shipmates. They are snapped up by some corrupted patchwork creature, but crawl back out to finish the number. After the show, I sit with the Flotsam cast on a concrete slab by the river. The mime and I talk about who controls illusions. The puppeteer, called Enormous Face, makes music by blowing into a balloon, that got fished out of the river to make a baby laugh. Someone hands me soup made with vegetables from the dumpster. I can hear the water moving in the dark. When I ask what they hope people remember about the show, the puppeteer says, "I hope people remember it wrong, and even more wild." I come back the second night and the third night. At the last show, the puppeteer is wearing their giant sea monster costume, lumbering over the rocks, patchy linen snagging on debris, roaring at children, accepting cash donations via the monster's mouth. My pictures come out blurry. I'm laughing and can't hold the camera still. The puppeteer raises their arms, opening the costume's mouth wide, and swallows me into the fabric with them. They point at a tiny notebook dangling from a string inside the costume, their notes about the run of show, and they say, "Jet, this is the discourse," before unswallowing me and lurching toward the next laughing figure. Now I read books about mime and illusion that tell me I can't embody what I can't imagine, and I can't imagine anything whose premise isn't real to me. My mime teacher, Robert Rivest, says comedy is a series of problems. But multiple premises can be true at once, can be acted upon at once by any mime worth their invisible salt. In his handbook, Tony Montanaro calls this blending premises. My list of premises is still growing. Like, the world has ended. The world hasn't begun. Everyone I love is suffering. My friend says if the only thing you know about me or what I am is that I suffer, then you don't know anything at all. Everyone I love has made me laugh. My body most days feels like river garbage. I love to dance on stages. My mom thinks I seem sad the past few years. Thank you. Kenneth says that my poetry is about wanting impossible things. The impossible task now is to combat the overwhelming sense that anything yet to come is just an epilogue. I'm not going to let my friends fight alone. There is still time to mutate. Listen, once when I was 15, I had friends over and we were dancing in the dark basement, and a few of us smashed open some glow sticks. Neon splattered all over my mom's carpet. I never got in any trouble for it though, because no one went down there without turning on the light first, and that toxic little glow only bloomed in the dark. There is nothing waiting for us at the end of the world unless we create it. Thank you.
Okay, Apollo, come on back up. So, hopefully you've been thinking about things you'd like to ask these lovely folks, whether you're here in person or online. You can get your questions in the chat, and Aaron can get those questions to me. And I'm killing time. Spilling flowers. Anybody got a joke? I'm not going to tell my Britney Spears joke.
Do it. Do it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears too.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears too.
Oops, I did it again.
I'm going to start with you, so it'll be okay, I promise. So the first sentence of your bio is about crying in the club or crying in the archive. I know that was intended to be slightly tongue-in-cheek, but there's also something, a kernel of like reality there that I really want to explore, because I am more than mildly obsessed with this idea of the poet being a real human being who lives in the real world with a real life. And not just somebody who kind of stays aloof from it as some sort of documentarian. We talked a little bit about at dinner, like objectivity and the kind of distance or lack thereof between the speaker and the poet. So I'm curious about crying in the club and crying in the archive. Talk to me about that.
So one, I texted one of my friends when I was like doing some archival research at the Missouri Historical Society, like just this picture of like the really lovely like ceiling. I was like, I'm in the archive, and they were like, yeah, likely place for you to be, because I default to like those two locations, but you know, you talk about. I think in the initial question you sent over, there was the idea of distance or like the poet. How do you function in the world while also obtaining enough distance to like synthesize it into creative work? And I think that kind of like distance is presupposed in most questions that ask or that create like a duality between the artist as a maker and then the person who is a citizen of the world. I don't particularly think of it as two separate things. I also don't particularly think of going out into the world as a way of harvesting material for my poems, or of my archival practice as a way of harvesting material for my poems. In fact, I think of it the opposite direction. So a lot of the work that I do in archives is trans archives. I look at what my ancestors have left for me and my sisters, and they left that for a reason, and they left that because they wanted us to live, and they left that because they wanted us to learn lessons that we need to live. And like I think about, when my sisters call me and something's happened in their life, and I have to talk to them about it. It's not just me who's drawing. I'm not just drawing on like my experiences. I'm drawing on what I've found through what's been left for us in the archives. Similarly, with poetics. I think of a poem as a vessel for experience and as a way to better process experience and better process emotions so that I can step up for the people who need me. Because being a lot of the people who I have responsibility to and who I love most in the world, we are all in our early 20s trying to deal with a lot without parents or without older people to look to. And that means that we have to mother each other. That means that we have to be each other's parents. And I'm 23, I don't know shit. But at a certain point, I have to put that aside because there are people who need me, and I have to figure out a way to put all that I do not know and all of my grief and all that I'm confused about aside, so that I can be the other person on the end of that phone call, or so that I can be the person on that porch. And a poem is a way to do that, and a poem allows me to do that, and maybe be the mother that someone I love a lot deserves, if only for a little bit. And so that's how I think of like the poet as artist versus the poet as citizen. Poems allow me to do what I need to do for the people who I love.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Any thoughts on your end?
I was just dazzled by that. I don't know. Yeah, I love what you said about the living part of it not being just gathering things for your art, but that then there are all of these things of beauty and deep connection that we can pass along and share, and sometimes that is through art, and even when there's no other roadmap that already exists. I just thought that was beautiful.
Well, I want to stay with you a little bit because, like, the work that you presented tonight, I've heard some of it before. Like, is a little more essayish, shall we say? Like, and is a bit more. I feel like the distance between the speaker and Jet is a bit more narrow than it might be otherwise. Like, when you're thinking about that finished product on the page, what is that synthesis process between just straight journaling or diary and what you're giving us this evening? Like, how much? Talk to me about that thinking and feeling process, if that makes sense as a question.
Yeah. Ask me again in 10 years, maybe, when I've had time to think about it. But sorry if line breaks are your bag, and that's the main thing that gets you going, and that's what you were here for, because there weren't any. I've gotten really into really lyrical prose and things that kind of blur those lines. Like a la Maggie Nelson, that kind of stuff. Sheila Heti also, if you haven't checked out, holy moly. And almost does read like stream of consciousness, Sheila Heti stuff, where it's like, if you can't really, you don't see the design, the hand moving, but it's all woven together so beautifully. and so seamlessly, even though it's like, one chapter is the time I learned how to be a hairdresser, and one chapter is like, I don't know if I want to be a mom or not. Just like, it seems all over the place, but there are these through lines. So for me, I think my through lines are what it means to exist in this particular flavor of apocalypse that we have right now. And although there are, specific ways that I'm moving right now and things that I'm experiencing, I think it's really important to talk about that and share that. And it is a little bit like journaling, and maybe that's okay. There's like a performance artist I really like who talks about diaristic indulgence. And I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Just, and obviously there's been so many confessional poets, but I think I'm really okay with the voice in what I'm writing right now being very obviously and literally me as much as it ever could be, and it is getting very essay-ish, but I'm hoping that some of the threads together kind of make sense in a way that's both deeply personal to me and also relatable to maybe anybody who's living in this particular time and is experiencing perhaps things like dysphoria or, just what it means to exist, in this kind of empire that we're existing in. That was a very rambling answer, but I think I'm okay with it coming across a little journally as long as it still feels crafted enough to making an argument's not the right phrase, but put forth a premise and like really work on those premises.
Yeah, and I did not intend that to be like a negative critique at all, that sort of journaling aspect. It can be, absolutely. You did mention the idea of confession, though, and we did talk about that a little bit at dinner, especially as it relates to one presenting ideas about one's identity and how that can translate to an audience that may not share that identity. Would you feel like kind of just addressing that in short form?
I think confession gets a bad rap. It's viewed as easy or overly legible. I think the only issue with confession is when people who don't want to write confession feel pressured to write confessional poetry because that's the only way that they think they can get a foot in the door, given a market that's predominantly kept and guarded by upper middle class cis white people. Like, if you want to write confessional poetry and that's your bag, you should. But I do think that a lot of people feel pressured to write a kind of poetry or to perform a kind of confessionalism or to create a kind of intimacy in their poems that they might not, were they writing absent a lot of the pressures in the contemporary American literary landscape. Yeah, I think that there's no value judgment or lack thereof on confession. I think that the issue becomes when one feels obligated to sell themselves in a way that they do not desire to, or make themselves legible in a way that they would not choose for themselves because they want something that the literary world has, and a lot of people want and need a lot of things that the literary world has.
Thank you for that. I have one more question that is for both of you, and then we'll gather some paradise and close things up. It has to do with the relation between, poetry as a physical art. I mean, I think I've said probably multiple times on the stage, I really love this notion that Robert Pinsky has that poetry itself is a physical art because it is delivered from the body in a way, right? Like if you go to a poetry reading, a human being will speak words from their throat out into the audience. So it is in that way a physical movement art. So both of you, in the way that you performed your work, and then I know that you're incredibly interested in mine, think about that intersection. How separate is textual art from physical movement art? Where is, when you're thinking about writing a poem or you're thinking about a movement piece, where is, talk to me about that Venn diagram.
Well, yeah. Pinsky said the medium of the poet is the breath of the reader, right? That was the Pinsky one. Yeah, I love that quote too. Yeah, I think so. I take my mime lessons once every couple weeks on Zoom, and my mime teacher is also a poet. And again, Robert Rippen's a great teacher if you are interested. And we end up finding a lot of like, oh yeah, it's just like in poetry when, you know, you're thinking about musicality, or it's just like in poetry when you're thinking about voice or character, or like an identifying gesture, identifying characteristic that, you know, is kind of like the Ezra Pound thing. Ezra Pound fascist was. I love the thing about like, if I just say something with enough precision, we are all picturing the same thing. Which is also kind of bullshit in itself, like that's whatever. But just this idea that if you can be truly present and observe and be the body in the space, you know, whether you're gonna convey that onward through words or movement, or both, I think a huge part of it is just the being present, and working with what you see and what you feel. And I've also been thinking a lot about like corporeal politics lately, and just the ways that every, you know, nothing we are like saying or believing matters unless we're doing it and moving our feet and moving our bodies and like being in the spaces and taking up space and being active, being in the places we need to be, even sometimes putting our bodies on the line in the ways that we should. And, you know, I think art's the same way, that it's radical to take up artistic space. It's radical to use your breath or your body to make art, and to share that. And I think the Venn diagram's a circle. Yeah.
This is my periodic plea for everybody to leave all social media. It's been one of the healthiest decisions I've ever made in my life. It's always lovely to have readers who are good readers of their own poetry. Like, I never take that for granted. Not everybody is great at it, but it's lovely that you both are. So same question. How do you think about that, the overlap of the physicality of performance, for lack of a better term, and then just the written word?
Thank you very much, and thank you so much for everything you shared, Jen. Unlike a lot of poets who I respect, I don't write my poems to be performed. I write my poems under the assumption that they will be read on the page, absent my voice and absent my body. But when I get the chance to perform them, I really jump at that chance because, one, a lot of my poems come from experiences that I do not feel like I can hold in my body, that frequently I feel like are going to break my body and my mind, and like the act of performance is an expulsion of that. It's the poem becomes an artifact into which I place parts of that experience that I cannot bear in my own memory, or in my own future. If I cannot imagine a future in which this experience is in my body, I put it in a poem. And so the opportunity to like expel that in that way through performance is really special to me. I also think about bodily performance as another kind of form. I think it, like in much the same way as like a sonnet or a sesquina as a way of ordering language. I think it was like Aquinas who talked about the soul is the form of the body because the soul is the unique arrangement of the body that gives that information meaning. And I think of form, Aquinas was right about that. Like, he's the most reliable man in my life. I'm a big fan of Aquinas. But like, the body, a sonnet is a way of ordering the poetic information. The form of the sonnet is a way of ordering that poetic information in a way that is unique and in a way that is the soul of the poem. When I move my body, when I perform, that is another way of ordering that information, that even if it's the same language or the same container, is a different soul and is an essential soul for that poem. And I find a lot of satisfaction in that, and I find a lot of gratification in that. I think that most poems have a lot of different souls, and I think that the opportunity to animate a poem by physical movement is a way of honoring parts of the poem, parts of that experience that might not be accessed in a literary magazine, or might not be accessed over text. It's a formal thing, and it's another form of memory. Does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely, yes. Thank you. Appreciate that. We're going to close the way we normally do, which is Gathering Paradise, a practice I stole from Phil Reese at the Writer's House. So I'd love to hear from both of you, and I'll start to give you time to kind of marinate on any artsy anything that is really floating your boat these days. Maybe it's a book you're reading, maybe it's not, but something to give our folks a taste of what's interesting to you artistically. So I will take this opportunity to again plug Spencer Reese. He's been a really lovely reread, especially his first book, The Clerk's Tale. It's just really fantastic. Has a little bit to do with him working at Brooks Brothers. He's an older queer poet and a priest, so really interesting overlap of identities there. That's really worth exploring. He's just fantastic, so can't recommend him enough. I'm gonna pick on you.
As we are also celebrating you this evening, I will also say go watch Andor. If you want to think about, just looking out for each other in revolution and having complicated feelings. That's not a book, though, so I'll say some textual things. I also want to shout out, I've been really reading a lot of Palestinian poetry in the last couple of years. So if you can get your hands on a book called Rivka or a book called Blood Orange, I would highly recommend that you do. So important to be hearing and witnessing and acting on Palestinian poets' words right now and always. And then I would also just say, if you can make space for some whimsy right now and you want to take a break, I would say go check out some children's literature. I recently reread The Phantom Tollbooth, and it is as charming as ever. So yeah, find something that also is a little breath of air for you.
Yes, Diary of a Wimpy Kid is the funniest shit you will ever read in your life. Strongly recommend.
One of my best friends is a really talented drag artist. She goes by the name Fauna. You all should look her up. She's based out of Rochester, New York, and she, the way she moves, the way she dresses, the stories that she tells with the outfits that she creates, there is a particular kind of barbed magic and barbed whimsy. She's like a deer with sharp teeth, and she inspires me every day with her art and with the way that she moves through the world. And I'd highly recommend. I think I'm very inspired by her, and I'm very inspired by her, not just personally, but like in terms of how I perform, in terms of stories that I want to tell with my language, and I'm really, really grateful to have been grown alongside her in the past few years. I'm a big fan of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I love that movie so much, and I don't know, young John Connor, great soundtrack, the way the Terminator runs, that really eerie movement is so cool. I cry every time in the final scene where young John Connor is having the intimate moment with the big robot who's his dad. I love that movie. It is tight, it is well plotted, it is well executed. There's a great lesson in pacing too. Great movie, highly recommend.
My dad dropped me off at the theater, and I bought a ticket for City Slickers with Billy Crystal, and I played Galaga until everybody had filed into that movie theater, and then I snuck into Terminator 2 without telling my parents. And now you know, Mom!
It's gonna be worried.
Oh, fuck Billy Crystal. Okay. Sorry, just kidding. I love you. Our last reading of the year. First, can we begin by appreciating these poets? Our last reading of the year, the calendar year, not the season, will be on October 28th, and will feature Jamie Went and Glendale Wallace, so it will be a fantastic time. A reminder that you can view tonight's reading on Facebook and on our website after August 26th, so when you watch it and when you share it with your friends, keep commenting, keep sharing, keep sending. We want to always boost the signal for local poetry as much as humanly possible. So Yeah, I think that's it. I want to thank again Apollo and Jet for reading and being generally fantastic. I want to thank Aaron for always being my fantastic Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and for all of our Poetry Center board and volunteers for supporting this series. It's been a really fantastic run. So take care of each other, be well, and good night.